Oxfam has called on federal government to rapidly sustain efforts by the Nigerian Senate to amend the Federal Inland Revenue Services (FIRS) Act towards regulating the processes of granting corporate tax holidays, import duty waivers, and investment incentives to investors and businesses in Nigeria. While addressing journalists in Abuja on Monday, the acting country director Oxfam in Nigeria, Tijani Ahmed, said the bedrock of poverty is not lack of resources, but in the fact that the top 1% has hijacked the available resources. Tijani noted that 700 million people in Africa are living in poverty, while 7 men on the continent hold $100 billion in wealth. The organization seeks to redistribute profits, also promote inclusive business, or address inequality through government intervention.
One is to revitalize the state. You will read from the report that some of these challenges are because we think states have abdicated on their social responsibility, privatizing healthcare, privatizing water, privatizing education. We feel that the state has to come out and be an effective bulwark against extreme corporate power. So government should ensure universal provision of healthcare, education, and social protection, and explore publicly boost and public options in sectors from energy to transportation. 2, reining in corporate power, including breaking up monopolies. Sometimes some of these corporate powers have what you call anti-competition behavior. And also we should democratize patent rules. This also means legislating for living wages, capping COP, and new taxes on the super rich and corporations. As we indicated, there is no problem if a company makes profit. But once you make profit, you should also pay living wages. But sometimes the tendency is that a lot of money is paid to shareholders and CEOs. So the proposals we are making is to see how we can more or less redistribute the profit, right? Next is reinventing inclusive and sustainable business. Competitive and profitable business do not have to be shackled by shareholder greed. Democratically owned businesses should better equalize the process of business. Next is the administrative suspension placed on processing of pioneer status incentive applications, we understand, and a review by the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission to allow for a more comprehensive review.
Also speaking, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Awa Rafsanjani, argued that corruption in Nigeria's tax system is losing the country huge amount of money due to lack of proper taxation and beneficial ownership transparency. He alleged the powerful individuals in government by manipulating economies and stealing resources through corruption.
Secondly, the absence of proper taxation system in the country is also one of the very reasons why government is losing a lot of money. You will agree with me, this fraudulent tax holiday that they do give to corporate agencies, if only they are using that money, they would have been able to address some fundamental developmental challenges that we have in Nigeria. There's no reason why, because you have interest in the company, you would go and give 5-year tax holiday, and there's no monitoring of the commitments that is supposed to come along with it, which is to say that, okay, if we give you tax holiday for 5 years, you should use the social corporate responsibility to help in terms of augmenting education, healthcare system, and infrastructure. Nobody monitor whatever those corporate agencies or entities or companies are doing with that. So we are losing huge amount of money simply because of corruption. Because the people approving this tax holiday, they have a share in those companies, and that is why we have been pushing for beneficial ownership. Because with beneficial ownership, we will be able to identify and know who owns what, who is director. The recent scandal again, PAZA, exposed how government officials dubiously use their own company, use their wives and children, and get this kind of either consultancy or contract or tax holiday.
Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive of Connected Development Code, highlighted underfunding of police and lack of transparency in budget allocation, linking it violence and poverty in Nigeria. He called for fair taxation to address inequality, also prevent state capture in Nigeria.
This is injustice. Today, we're dealing with a few people who is capturing the state and also might lead to anarchy. Because if inequality persists, what we would have is anarchy. Today, the Nigerian people cannot enjoy service delivery or social amenities. Over 5 trillion naira was given as tax heaven. This is unacceptable. While the federal government is saying they cannot meet budget demand, and we're going to borrow, knowing that Nigeria is currently carrying a debt burden, and yet we're giving tax incentive for people who are profiting in billions of dollars within our economy. No, this is unacceptable. We need a new era of tax, a regime that ensures fairness, equity, and justice. Because again, if we continue like this, this will lead to state capture and anarchy.